Clark Lee adds yet another quality depth piece in the secondary. This is going to be exciting. Let's get after it.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. In today's episode, we explore how new safety Maurice Hampton fits into Clark Lee's defense. How does this affect Randon Fontenette? How does this affect the other safeties? We'll explore that here more in depth. Also, new quarterback commit Jack Elliott just won MVP at the most recent Under Armour camp this past weekend. And Vandy is, don't sleep on this, but Vandy's building some quality depth at the quarterback position, not only through the portal, but through high school recruiting as well. So lastly, as recruiting improves, as it's been improving, thanks to this overhaul, there's been several key prospects that have set up official visits. And Vandy has a great chance to impress them and a great chance to land them. This is a good opportunity for them to flex a little bit of this newly found NIL muscle. So thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. Shout out to the everydayers. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. So Maurice Hampton commits. And this is exciting because Clark Lee is able to add another key piece to the secondary. We talked about Mark Davis on yesterday's episode, how he adds that physically imposing, psychological, threat out there on the corner. And not saying that that's all he's got, but he adds that element to Clark Lee's defense, being able to psych out the quarterback, get him thinking about things other than getting in the correct pass protection, and that frees up pass rush and all that good stuff. Well, Maurice Hampton, former LSU safety, former four-star out of Memphis, MUS, Memphis University School to be exact, signed with LSU out of high school, actually played a little bit, started, I think, 5 games at LSU, a two-sport athlete, played baseball as well, decided to play baseball instead. So he played 2 seasons at LSU before switching full-time over to baseball, played professional baseball for a couple of years, and now has come back into football, played last year at Memphis, and now is back into the transfer portal and now back at Vandy. So he's lived quite the athletic life. He's a veteran in age. He brings a little bit of older leadership to this football program, and this is going to be one of those ones where you look at it and say, okay, this guy is going to be a really, really good piece in that defensive backfield. I mean, this guy has had a ton of experience, a ton of different experiences, and he's been on a great defense at LSU. So he knows kind of how things need to happen. He kind of understands offensive schemes. He's been around the game for a long time, and he's been well coached at LSU. He's got a national championship ring with one of the greatest college football teams ever assembled at LSU. So this is exciting. This is an exciting get. 4-star, 5'11", 190 pounds. At LSU, he recorded 37 tackles in his career, 1 pass breakup in 4 games played, and 2 tackles for loss in 8 games played in 2020. So he's played a total of 12 games, started 5 of them as a sophomore in 2020 before switching over to baseball. So it's just kind of breaking him down a little bit. He's one of those that I guess at LSU, in his limited time, his tackles probably, the safety position probably isn't going to eat up a ton of tackles because their front seven's pretty good. But what I like about this guy is he's a good coverage guy. He's a guy that's going to cover a lot of ground. He's a guy that's smart and instinctive, that understands where these pass routes and where these passing concepts are going to be trying to attack. And so he can be a little bit more anticipatory in getting over to make those plays. So the key piece to this whole signing with Maurice Hampton is that he brings this veteran communication, this veteran knowledge to the backfield, and he understands, okay, how do I need to get this relayed? How can I tell my teammates, okay, hey, watch for this, watch for that. Hey, they're doing this, they're doing that. And I think that's going to be a very underrated piece to this whole puzzle, is that communication factor. Is that, hey, I've been at the highest level. I've played against guys like Trevor Lawrence and T. Higgins and those guys. Like, I've played against the best of the best in the SEC and in the college football playoff. I know how those guys play. I know how to neutralize those guys. And so in doing that, even though he wasn't a full-time starter because they had Jacoby Stevens and Grant Delpit, he still, that doesn't diminish the role that he plays, the knowledge that he soaked up playing in Dave Aranda's defense and being able to understand all kind of coverage principles and all kind of things happening with the safety spot. So where does he project? What happens to the safety room, right? So you sign Randon Fontenette in the portal. You have CJ Taylor coming back. You sign Dante Carter out of high school. Now you sign Maurice Hampton out of the transfer portal as well. So you got 4 guys right there that could kind of rotate in for each other. And if you really, really, really want to get creative, there's that, I guess you call it anchor, jack, razor, star, whatever you want to call it, whatever teams call it. It's that kind of utility box safety guy that can cover tight ends, running backs, third receivers. They can play zone very, very well, and their primary run support. So if you really want to get creative, you could have Randon Fontenette go down to that razor, star, whatever position, anchor position, and you can have CJ Taylor and Maurice Hampton kind of start you off with Dante Carter kind of rotating in with those guys, because Dante Carter lacks the experience that these other two have. CJ Taylor's done it at a high level at Vanderbilt for Clark Lee. These other two guys have done it at a somewhat high level from their respective destinations, TCU and LSU/Memphis. So having that key piece is going to help Dante Carter kind of ease in, make plays, and not play like a true freshman. He can play like an experienced safety because now you have that much more wisdom in the room. And not just wisdom, but a guy that can actually play the position as well. What are the concerns, though? Here's what I'm concerned about. Okay, so it's all exciting. It's all fun. It's all like, okay, now we can get really creative with the defense. And there's a lot of great things that can happen with this addition that gives you a lot of freedom to kind of do some funky stuff in the front seven. I said that with the addition of Mark Davis Jr. Now you have 2 really big corners out there that can rotate through. You have the same thing kind of at the safety position where you have some talented guys that do some slightly different things. Like now CJ Taylor can play closer to the box, and you can have Hampton play that free safety role, and Randon Fontenette kind of play that low flat alley type role to the field, where Corday Sindor's playing that rush end to the boundary side if the ball's on a hash mark. But with any transfer, with any addition to your roster, there's great things and there's concerns. The concern with Hampton it's not that he's not talented enough. It's not that he's not savvy enough, smart enough, all that good stuff. But the fact that he's been away from football for a 2-year block trying to play baseball, that does concern you a little bit, right? And how much level of rust is there going to be? How much of not only rust in like your abilities, but like your body, you've been training your body to be a baseball body, to hold up to the rigors of the sport of baseball, which are completely different from the sport of football. So how do you work yourself back into football shape? That's the hurdles that he's got to cross. That's the hill that he has to climb. He's going to have to really get in there with Coach Steiner in the offseason, in the summer, and really, really work his body back into being primarily a football body, because he's talented enough. He's fast enough. He's physical enough. He's smart enough to be able to play at a really high level in the best league in the country. But now he's got the uphill climb of getting his body back into being fully a football body. And so I don't think he's going to play baseball at Vanderbilt, so he can really kind of focus on honing that in. Where at LSU, he did play baseball as well. So he was a two-sport athlete. He didn't quite get that football development that the other guys got, and I think that kind of put him behind, good, bad, or indifferent. It put him behind a little bit, and so he's got to make up that ground, and he's got to really kind of dedicate himself now in training to be a football player. So very exciting nonetheless. I mean, I think the concerns are obviously there, and I think they're valid concerns. But again, it doesn't overly worry me because I know that he can do it, will do it, and he'll be a great communicator back there, and he'll be somebody that can come in and instantly, just like that, get the guys going and get everything rocking and rolling. Him and CJ Taylor would be great back there together, getting all the new transfers in the right places. And even though Hampton's a new transfer himself, but I think he's more well versed in the defense than mentally than a lot of the guys on the team already. So it's very exciting coming from LSU, coming from pro baseball. So continue to add depth is a great thing. So that being said, a few other targets in the portal. I think offensive line has got to be a priority now. You got to really kind of hammer some more offensive line depth a little bit. And so I think there's some targets out there. I think there's some guys that they're contacting. So keep your eyes peeled for some action and for some movement in the offensive line transfer portal. So that is all. So there's been some exciting stuff happening with our recruiting. Recruiting's been on a major uptick. So with that, Jack Elliott, the quarterback commit, he's doing some special things, and he's going to be a special type player. We'll talk about him next. All right, talking about Gametime. You bet. This episode is brought to you by Gametime. Have you ever had a frustrating ticket buying experience? Are you excited about the NBA playoffs? It's kind of fun this year. The Nuggets are good. The Timberwolves are finally there. Well, Gametime is also an authorized ticket marketplace of the NBA, which makes getting playoff tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Gametime app actually go down closer it gets to tip-off. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets. So if you're looking at the Timberwolves next series, which I don't think is set, you may want to look at things like views from the seat in the venue. All right, if you live in Minneapolis, you can the Target Center, you can see where your seats are and what kind of views you have. Are you going to be obstructed? Is there going to be a good angle at the court? You can see that. Other places you can't, right? They have last minute deals, so you save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, and theater, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there's always last minute deals. I'm pretty sure there's probably going to be one on these NBA games as well. Zone deals, you save even more when you choose a section and let Gametime choose the seats. I really, really love that. And Gametime, they have really good ticket coverage, right? Your purchase is actually covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So here's what you need to do. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. This episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. I mentioned it's playoff time in the NBA. It's also playoff time in the NHL. The Preds need your help, so you need to bet their way into winning Game 5. So it's playoff time. Like I said, baseball is also in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks. All on an app that's safe, secure, and easy to use. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. All right, welcome back. Look, are you tired? Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Do you have to turn down the volume with all the shouting? Well, make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all that screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So, speaking of segment, thank you for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. We thank you. Make Locked On SEC your second listen each and every day. Chris Gordy does a wonderful job over there. It's really, really good show. So, Jack Elliott, quarterback commit. He won the Under Armour showcase. He won MVP at the Under Armour camp. And it's exciting because I don't think people are used to seeing Vanderbilt quarterback commits, do this type of thing, because these Under Armour camps have been, pretty prestigious. These are a big deal. And you seem to be he seems to be in really, really good shape here. And he seems to, what I really like about this is that his competitive streak, his attention to detail, all of that stuff is something that is that's amazing. And so I'm very excited about that because the kid shows some grit. The kid shows some talent, man. And he is and it's the one that was in Ohio as well. And it's a talented group of quarterbacks too. It's like he stood out. And so, man, I'm excited about that. The future, what excites me the most, I guess, is the future of the quarterback position, and the fact that now they're starting to kind of build a room there. Whereas, it's not just always this mass exodus, but you're getting these super competitive guys, these tough-minded, compete at all costs, win at all costs type guys. Guys like Jack Elliott can come in, and not saying that St. Hilaire and Muschamp can't do the same thing, because they just played against each other for the state championship last year or this past season, Baylor and Macaulay. It's one of those things where, when you're used to competing at a certain level, you kind of exude that into the rest of the group. And by winning these things, it seems like a small deal. Oh, he just won a regional Under Armour camp in Ohio. Well, whoop-de-doo, right? It's not SEC football. It's just football in shorts and a T-shirt and throwing the ball when there's nobody rushing you. I can hear all the excuses, right? But the fact of the matter is you still have to compete. You're still going against everybody. You're still going against the elements, and you're still throwing to receivers that you have zero rapport with. And it's how you can lead those guys to perform. How can you lead those guys to perform for you, to get timing with those guys? How can you do all of that, right? And it's how quickly can you do all of that? Because can you step on the field and immediately command that respect at the quarterback position? If you can, that's showing that you have a lot of intangible skills that these recruiters are looking for, that these coaches are looking for at the next level. Those are the kind of things that set you apart from the rest of the competition. And by doing all of that, by winning these small things, there's no such thing as a small victory, okay? There's no such thing. You win a rep in practice, you win a rep in practice. Like, that's one for you, not one for the other guy, right? And, you keep stacking those wins, guess what? You're going to be playing. And you're going to have that mindset of, hey, I'm going to win this rep. I'm going to win this rep. And you have, I don't know if small-minded is the right way to say it, but like it becomes more process-driven. And it becomes more of, hey, I'm focusing on winning this play because it's going to help me win the next play. And it's going to give me confidence to win the next one and the next one and the next one. The next thing you know, you look up at the scoreboard and you're winning the game. And it's because of that mindset that creeps in a little bit. And with Vandy, unfortunately, the reason they're 2-10 last year, and the reason why the records are usually so bad and everybody's like, oh, Vandy this, Vandy that, whatever, crowd's not into it. There's no fans. There's no nothing. The reason is the mindset. It's kind of like this doubt loser mindset that's kind of creeped in because probably they've been listening to a lot of outside noise and they get guys that don't compete like this, like you never heard of like a Vandy guy going to Under Armour camp and dominating and winning the MVP. You didn't hear of that now. Now you're starting to hear these guys like they're winning stuff. They're out there. And this is kind of new territory. This is kind of a new thing for Vandy. So sort of not, there's some of that to a certain degree, but not, it seems like it's a little bit more prevalent now. It's a little bit more widespread now. So, but I love this. And I love the competitiveness, and I love everything that this does for the mindset of not only Jack Elliott, but the mindset that he's going to bring to the table that's hopefully already established with this year's group. So it's exciting stuff. Congrats to Jack Elliott winning the Under Armour camp. But there's some guys setting some official visits. There's a possible transfer portal guy that I just read about as well. So stay tuned for all of that. We're going to talk about some recruiting updates. There's some exciting ones here along the way, but we'll talk about that next. All right, Monopoly Go. It's fun. You should do it. Okay. So the game is off. Okay, game off. We got to pause. We got to pause here to talk more about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying. Flag on the play. You've already talked about that. But there's so much more good stuff in this game. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with friends for timed tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes that you unlock. And there's so much more to get. You can get unique stickers you can trade with a friend to complete albums for big prizes. There's cool new playing pieces to travel boards with. And hilarious new emojis for taunting friends when you smash their buildings or heist their vaults. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include their own unique mini games like digging for treasure or robot pachinko machine. And there's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and go download it now free on Google Play or the App Store. Guess what? Game on. All right, here we go. Welcome back. Segment number 3, wrapping up the show. It is Locked On Vandy on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for making us your everyday listen and your first listen. And make sure you keep making us your first listen and make Locked On SEC your second listen right after this. So thank you for the everydayers. Follow us at Locked On Vandy and anywhere you get your podcasts. So few recruiting updates. I think there's some things happening here. And there's some things that are exciting that you should kind of be aware of. Okay. Starting with, we'll keep in the portal here. Okay. If you didn't know, Liberty starting left tackle Chase Mitchell has entered the portal. He's going to be a grad transfer. Well, he might be coming to Vanderbilt. Okay, he might be coming to Vanderbilt, and so this is something that's exciting because Vandy needs offensive line depth. They need quality offensive line depth, and they're getting it. They're starting to get it, or it seems like they're getting it. If they get this piece, I think this is going to be a good one, okay? And this is going to be something that they can really kind of sink their teeth into as far as that goes. So stay tuned for that because I think there's a good possibility that he could kind of wind up here, understanding that, hey, as a grad transfer, I've got a very, very short window to play SEC football, and there's a really good chance that I could show up on Vandy's campus and possibly win a starting position. So this is very, very, very fun. So keep your eyes peeled for this one. I'm sure I have a gut feeling. This is my prediction based on absolutely nothing but speculation. But this is something I feel like it's going to. Be very good news for Vanderbilt. So I feel like I'm going to be reporting that. So some other updates. Byron Nelson from Katy, Texas, big 6'3", 280-pound guard, is set to visit Vanderbilt on June 14th. Competing with Pitt on his commitment there. But some good things along the way. He's making some good headway, and he has good rapport with the staff, and who doesn't like Nashville and the NIL possibilities? So stay tuned on that one. Ms. Tunkara, I think. He has an official visit the same weekend as Byron Nelson. He is a 6'4", 200-pound wide receiver out of Clear Springs, Texas. He has got his official visits set up. He has planned a second one with Ole Miss, and then I guess he's going to kind of figure out from there if he wants to add more or not. Rashad Sterling is a strong side defensive end, 6'3", 232, kind of that edge guy. He's got Vanderbilt in his top 5, so he should be visiting soon as well. That's exciting. Jack Elliott, of course, I'm sure is pumping a lot of these guys up, especially these offensive linemen. If I'm Jack Elliott, I'm rallying the troops here and building me a really good offensive line. Braden Jones has received an offer. Some very exciting things here. And Jerry Kill, man, he's pun fully intended. He's killing it. He's helping us kill it in recruiting. So that's very, very exciting. CJ May, another defensive end. He's going to be visiting June 7th. He has an official visit lined up with Vanderbilt on the heels of a visit to Louisville. He is from Alabama, Highland Home, Alabama, as well. You have Jamin Brown from Southside Gadsden, Alabama. He's got an offer and he's got a visit set up as well. Von Zale Hinton is very exciting as a commit from Paducah, Kentucky, and I really, really like that as a defensive back, kind of athlete type guy. I'm really, really excited there. Justin Hopkins, my guy from Innsworth. Hopefully I can get to him, and hopefully he can commit. I'm gonna try to get on him a little bit. And then, Tristan Norman is exciting. He's a 3-star receiver. He has Vandy in the top 10. He's from Carver, Alabama. He is, I will say this, Vanderbilt is the first P5 school to offer him, and they've been on him. So this will see kind of how far that goes. He's got offers from Georgia, Auburn, Kentucky, Arkansas, and Texas A&M. So it'll get real interesting to kind of see where he goes with all of that, and see how far Vandy being the first to be on him goes. So that'll be an interesting one to keep an eye on as well. But recruiting's getting exciting, guys. And this staff, this overhaul, this whatever new approach to recruiting at Vanderbilt has been really, really beneficial for the brand and for the program. And it's been one of those things where they've put some more attention to it. So they're getting higher quality guys. They're getting guys like Dante Carter. They're starting to get more of that caliber of guys, not only in this class that's coming in, but in the next class that's coming in next year. Right. And they're starting to kind of establish that a little bit, where you're getting guys like Carson Lawrence, Jack Elliott, Austin Howard, and Von Zale Hinton. Like, you're starting to get guys that play extremely well and are really good player. You're not beating out Buffalo for a commit. You're competing with some of these other schools a little bit. And a lot of that is NIL. And if we didn't have NIL, probably be more of the same. But nonetheless, NIL is even the playing field, which is really, really good. So that's all we got for you, without going too far into overtime. And with that, I'm going to wrap up the show. Make sure you follow us at Locked On Vandy on all social media platforms. Find us wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Subscribe, like, tell a friend, spread the word. This has been fun. So we'll see you back here tomorrow for Hump Day edition of the Locked On Vandy podcast on Locked On Podcast Network. But until then, as always, anchor down. We'll see you later. Peace.